Another edition of Outside Shots presented by TheLines.com. You can follow me on X at Eli Herskovich. You can follow The Lines on X at The Lines US. Recording here on Sunday, March 31st for some opening odds in the Final Four. Kind of an early look at the last or two of the last three games in the NCAA tournament here on Outside Shots. Unfortunately, the college basketball season just has three games remaining and not the best Final Four matchups when you think about it, at least from a point spread perspective. If you think the implied probability of both of these favorites are going to move on, then not the most appealing, but still worthwhile to break them down as we look at the first matchup, Purdue and NC State. Boilermakers about a 9-point favorite over the Wolfpack. By the way, if we look back at NC State's Final Four run, they were 1,000 to 1. Yes, you heard that correctly. 1,000 to 1 to win the national championship. Before the ACC tournament, they were 200 to 1 to win the NCAA tournament ahead of March Madness officially tipping off on Thursday, March 21st. They were 30 to 1 to win the national title before beating Duke over at BetMGM Sportsbook, and 20 to 1 now to win the title ahead of playing Purdue. Remember, you can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet over at BetMGM Sportsbook with promo code THELINES, one word, to get up to those $150 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. As always, read those at thelines.com. And then the other Final Four matchup, we're looking at UConn, the dominance that we've seen from them in the tournament. 10 straight wins in the Big Dance dating back to last season, and all of them coming by double digits, trouncing Illinois with a 30-0 run in the second half of their Elite Eight contest. And the Huskies are 11.5-point favorites over Alabama. So let's look at some of the metrics that stand out here. Actually, first, let's dive into national championship odds. Just get those out of the way. Odds to win the tournament at this point. I mentioned NC State, the biggest long shot, 20 to 1. That was actually as of about 15, 20 minutes ago, now down to 18 to 1 as of this recording over at BetMGM. Alabama 17 to 1, Purdue plus 190, and UConn minus 225. You think about Duke getting knocked out, that caused Purdue's odds and UConn's odds for that matter to shorten a bit more, and Purdue obviously taking on NC State, so they get the benefit of Duke getting upset in the Elite Eight. DJ Burns having his way with Kyle Filipowski. 29 points, super efficient inside. NC State couldn't miss in the second half. That hasn't been the case, though, with their opponents. So tipping things off here with the biggest long shot to win the title at this point and ahead of the NCAA tournament actually beginning. NC State, if we look back at their run here, their opponents have shot 23.7% from deep in the Big Dance, while they have shot 37.1% from three. Take a step back, Sweet 16, Marquette shoots about 12% from behind the arc and a bunch of wide open misses. Duke couldn't make them pay outside of Jared McCain almost seemingly trying to put over bettors on his back in the final couple minutes. The under still coming through in Duke NC State. But you would think after the way Purdue shot against Tennessee from distance, what did they shoot here? Pulling up the numbers. Boilermakers go 3 of 15. A lot of those wide open looks, especially in the first half. Mason Gillis missing 2 wide open threes from the corner. I sometimes have a lot of negative things to say about Zach Edey, but 40 points, 16 rebounds, the game sealing block against Dalton Connect to wrap up their matchup covering against the Tennessee Volunteers in their Elite Eight contest. On paper, Purdue should be able to play inside out through Edey, get Burns in foul trouble, and then really cause this NC State perimeter defense to regress. So looking at this thing number-wise, I still haven't updated my raw numbers here, but just to give you guys a sense of where my numbers were at before the Elite Eight tipped off and maybe a little bit of a comparison to the odds juxtaposed to BetMGM, I would make, before updating my raw numbers ahead of the Final Four, I would make Purdue about a 10.5, 11-point favorite against NC State. So on the surface, on Sunday night, this line seems a little bit short, especially if the Boilermakers 3-point shooting with Braden Smith Fletcher Lawyer, Mason Gillis off the bench, Lance Jones, see positive variance go their way after a terrible shooting performance against Tennessee despite knocking off the Vols. Purdue should win that game by double digits, but long way to go. This is, again, just the opening odds looking at the initial point spreads and some initial reaction to both Final Four matchups. Now, on to the second game, going back to UConn and Alabama. That line, 11.5, total of 161.5 over at BetMGM Sportsbook. UConn, in their championship run, they've shot just 28.1% from deep, missed a lot of open threes against Illinois in the first half, blowing them out, didn't matter. Illinois had no answer for Donovan Clingan around the rim. For some reason, Brad Underwood decided to go right at Clingan instead of maybe trying to play a little bit in the mid-range, which I'll get to with Alabama in a second. But UConn's opponents have shot 22.5% from three. Alabama has gotten some positive shooting luck as well from the opponent. They have shot a ridiculous 41.4% from three, and their opponents just 28.8%. Now, I will say with Alabama, high volume three-point shooting team, it's not like they take a bottom 100 three-point attempt rate in the country where, okay, that three-point percentage is an outlier. If you're going to take a lot of threes, they have the three-point shooters to do it. Maybe they cause UConn's three-point defense to regress a little bit, especially when you factor in that UConn in a high-variance game, double-digit spread, the way to keep that game close, the way to create a high-variance scenario. Granted, Alabama's going to try to ramp up the possession, so that isn't the way you want to do it, but you want to hit a lot of threes. And Alabama, whether it's Sears, Rylan Griffin, Estrada, maybe they get Lachelle Wrightsell back for this game, their best three-point shooter efficiency-wise, could keep this game close. And looking at this thing just market rating-wise for UConn, sportsbooks theoretically had to set this one a little bit higher just because of the volume of bets and action they're going to get on the Huskies. If they set this line under double digits, 9-8, doesn't matter. Money is going to come. Bets are going to come flying in on the Huskies, no matter how Arizona, or how Alabama, I should say, matches up against Donovan Clingan. Now, looking at my raw numbers ahead of the Final Four, still have some updating to do, but I would make that point spread, looking at it here, I have UConn power rated, obviously the top team in the country. I make it closer to 9.5, 10. So you compare that to the point spread that we're seeing on the open, or at least as of Sunday night. If Alabama causes UConn's three-point defense to regress in the tournament, could keep that game within single digits. Now, if we look at UConn's three-point defense in the regular season, opponent shot 30.9% from deep, good for the 28th lowest three-point clip in the country. So it's not like they have all of a sudden flip-flopped in the NCAA tournament and their three-point defense has become otherworldly. They run you off the three-point line and they force you to take mid-range jump shots. Does that play into Alabama's hands? Not necessarily. The Crimson Tide rank in the first or second percentile in college basketball in mid-range attempt rate. So that's not good. First isn't good. Second is a little better, but still not good. They don't take a lot of mid-range shots. Now, if you look at some of the efficiency numbers for Alabama in the mid-range, you would think the Huskies, Dan Hurley, are going to force you to make mid-range shots and run you off the three-point line. You have to be able to hit mid-range jumpers against Donovan Clingan in drop coverage. Rylan Griffin, 73rd percentile in mid-range efficiency. Aaron Estrada, 66th percentile. Maybe that game is on the closer end of things. We'll see what my numbers say later on in the week, but I kind of think as of this recording that Alabama, if the line wasn't inflated in UConn's direction because of all the bets and money that are going to be piling up on the Huskies regardless, Alabama could keep that thing within single digits. So that's my initial reaction here on outside shots to the Final Four. Point spreads, I mentioned the total for Alabama UConn sitting at BetMGM as of this recording at, I think I said 161.5. Yeah, so this is actually interesting. 163.5 over at BetMGM, 161.5 over at DraftKings and other sportsbooks. So that also goes to show you and kind of highlights the notion that you have to get the best of the number, whether you like the over or the under. If you like the over, head over to DraftKings. If it's still 161.5, maybe UConn's 3-point defense regresses and we see the game go over 161.5. If you like the under, 163.5 over at BetMGM is your go-to book. Like I mentioned off the top, if you want to get the best promos over at thelines.com, you can do so for any sportsbook price shop as well over at thelines.com. And with BetMGM, first-time users can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. Also, if you're a North Carolina State fan and you want to bet on the Wolfpack or want to fade the Wolfpack with the Boilermakers, you can find the best promo codes over at thelines.com for North Carolina. Still some great sign-up offers with NC Sports Betting just going live as of a few weeks ago. You can find all of our bets in real time in our Discord channel. The link is over at thelines.com in the top right-hand corner. That's going to do it for this abbreviated edition of Outside Shots. Good luck with your Final Four picks. Initial ones earlier in the week. We'll be back later in the week with some insight from the sports book and also the later episode on our best bets for Alabama, UConn, and NC State, Purdue. Until then, so long, everybody, and good luck with your March Madness handicapping early in the week.